actually a staggering statistic, 80% of women wear the wrong bra size in the world. So this is not just an African problem, it's actually a global problem.
Yes.
Because, you know, when bras are hidden and panties are hidden, nobody cares.
Exactly.
So I, when I be concerned about how I look, I want a nice dress, I want nice hair.
No one needs to know what's under there.
What's under there? I always say, imagine yourself collapsing in public.
Oh.
And people have to save you. Are you comfortable? When the men ask me, Connie, why don't you start a business for us? I told them, you're the worst people to invest in. They are the worst people to invest in, because a man will change his boxes when the lady changes his boxes, or once a year. Often you'll find that that's the case.
And actually you find a lot of men, they rely on the women in their lives.
To notice that there were torn boxes.
Or buy the new ones.
Buy them.
You have a business that actually really helps women. Two bras at the same time.
Or you buy something with like a binder or a bando, so that you wear your bra that doesn't fit correctly, then layer it with something else to try and organize a few things, you know? You're like, it doesn't have to be like that. So you're parenting at a very different age, and also the way the school systems are working, it's at a very different way. So teachers need to meet these kids who are growing up in a very connected world. They understand their rights. Right, and they have to be responsible for those rights, but most importantly, they understand what needs to happen to them and what can't happen to them. So we're just capacity building for the teachers, the parents, on how to parent and teach and discipline in a positive way, and not necessarily just beating with the corporal punishment.
I love that you're doing a lot of around positive discipline, because that is a challenge, not just in a school setting, but even in parenting as well. Because our generation, I would say, we were chased with a slipper. The slipper even found you like around the corner. It came and it still found you there.
We don't approach business partnerships like a marriage. So when you're thinking about picking your partner, your spouse is gonna be, it's still death does your part for the most part, right? We should approach the same, picking a business partner with the same intensity and seriousness.
Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Good to have you here on Crystal One-on-One. We are on location at La Casita Restaurant and Lounge, a lovely green spot. I say green, I say lush, because there's plants and all these little nooks you can sit in. And considering how hot it has been since the beginning of the year, we need places like this with trees. Now we are here for a beautiful conversation with a lady that I can relate to. I'm going to use these movements right now. Now, my guest today is the co-founder and CEO of Double D's, which is a lingerie store. And she has a background in psychology. Her name is Connie Tipis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Crystal.
I'm
nice so happy to be here.
It's
been a long time coming.
I know, like we sat down, we had a conversation, and then life happened as usual. But it's so nice to have you. When I was saying this, some people were probably like, huh?
They're wondering. Or maybe they can't figure it out.
Maybe this, I feel like this is so the bosom area. Now, we had a beautiful conversation because I have a big bosom, and so do you.
So do I.
And in many ways, that's what your business, Double D's, is about.
It's about, yes.
Can I say congratulations on the name? I'm sure you've heard
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
The name of a business is supposed to speak to it, and I feel it is so apt.
Thank you. When we came up with the name, I actually thought that it would be confused for a ladies' joint, you know, like a strip club. I don't know if I can say that. I know.
Wow, that never even crossed my mind.
I know. So we had to go back and forth and think, what if? But then we just figured, you know what, the minute we say Double D's, then it's relatable.
Because really, what else is like a double D if it's not a bra size?
Things. People are very imaginative.
You were right. Yes, you were right. You're Kenyan.
Yes, Kenyan. Yes. But I think since I've been in Uganda for a while, before I speak and you hear my accent, I think many people assume I look like the ladies from the West. So I think I'm going to have to learn a little bit of Banyankore and Kinyarwanda, just a bit.
Now I can tell she's been here for a minute.
I can now use banange correctly. I know how to use
the right
the right time to.
Well done.
Thank you.
So Double D's
Yes.
is your branch in Uganda, but you started your business
In Nairobi.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have been in business for about 9 years in Nairobi.
Oh, wow.
Yes, turning 9 on June 1st this year. So we started June 1st, 2016, and then started coming to Uganda in 2019. And we just realized, I remember the first time landing, because we were referred to Uganda from the Rwanda people.
Okay.
Because we had a lot of clients ordering from Rwanda, but we didn't know they were Ugandan. So we first started with a pop-up in Rwanda. That was, I think, early 2019. And they said, Connie, what are you doing here? Because you know the girls in Rwanda are a bit hippie, but a bit small on the top.
Yeah, they're a bit smaller.
Yeah, smaller. So everyone said, you know what, can you just go to Uganda and see? I remember landing and thinking, wow, this Banyabo.
You looked around, you're like,
And I was
who are
like,
my clients?
wow, you know, it just felt, and I always crack this joke and say, it just feels like when God started creating women, he started in Uganda. Because he just gave hips, boobsies, and then no waists, like tiny waists. I think half the time I'd just turn and stare, and my entire face would almost like knock off the windows, because I was busy staring at the girls, and I was like, this is where the market is.
Yes, many
So,
Ugandans
yeah.
are shapely. I'll
Very
use
shapely.
the word shapely because, as you said, it's
Yeah.
up and down.
And down.
And even when they're very slender, they're still shapely.
Very shapely, yeah. So I started coming in 2019, did about 5 years back and forth. Of course, had a little bit of a stop during COVID. And then it just became impossible for us to, create, like just to keep doing the back and forth pop-ups.
Okay.
So we decided to open a store, which we opened on 9th June 2023. So we'll turn 2 years this year, God willing, June 9th, 2023. I think I have a thing about June. It seems to be a special
Clearly,
month.
right?
Yeah.
But also, I feel like as someone who grew up with a big bust, I always say it's so interesting how if, there are people who are an A cup, I don't know if I ever was an A cup. I feel like right from the time they came in, I was like a B.
Yeah.
And then it was literally a Christmas holiday in school. I think it was S3 or so, S2 going into S3. And I went into the Christmas holiday with a B cup, and I came back to school with a double D.
Yes.
Yes, and I was a double D for the longest time.
Yeah.
But
That
with
change happens.
every child,
Yes.
I have gone a size and a size.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting because other people say theirs go down. Mine have just been like, woo!
Yep.
So for the longest time,
Yes.
the challenge was getting good quality bras. And I think what helped me is when I was much younger, in my family, a lot of women have big busts. So my mom knew how to get the right sizes.
Yeah.
Because that was the struggle. You'd always see someone with a big bust and they're wearing the worst fitting bra that's cutting them at the back, that's riding high
up,
and barely covering what is supposed to cover.
be covered, yeah.
Can you relate?
Yeah, I definitely can relate. I think for me, I noticed my bust come in at about, was it 11? Because I also started my menses very early. I think at about, just before I turned 11. So, and when I started noticing my boobs, I remember my first bra was actually, we had an auntie, she's still based in the States. So what she'd do, she'd shop from the stores when there's sales and then fill 2 suitcases with bras and then send them home. So now all the ladies in the family would now show up and then now start picking. So you just pick what you like and then just put it on your body. At that point, you're not even thinking about fit. You're just like, oh, this is cute. And I think I like the color, and then you wear it. So no professional fitting. Nobody ever told you this is how a bra should fit.
Yes.
And you watch and observe how your mommy, your auntie, your grandma is putting on the bra and you're like, this is how I'm going to do it. And turns out it was the wrong way. Just started changing that maybe in 2020. That's when I started wearing my bra the correct way.
The correct
Because there's a right
way
way to wear a bra. Yeah. And so when we started the business, it was mostly, so I have a partner, her name is Charity. She's based in the States. And we thought we'd struggle to find bras. And everywhere we'd go shop, majority of the people would tell us in Swahili, Madam, size yako hatuna, which simply translates to, we don't have your size. And in such an embarrassing way.
Yeah.
And you
I
know,
remember
trying
to
on bras on
walking
top of
in and
clothes.
you're looking at them like,
Terrible.
Your size we don't have.
We don't have, And you know, you keep thinking, is it a problem? And now, after now doing this for about 10 years now, it's just a thing of, you just need to get educated around the bust issue.
Yes.
And because it's a bit taboo to speak about underwear in our context, both in Kenya and I'm sure in Uganda, it's not a thing we're very passionate to keep talking to women about. Yeah.
I mean, even in terms of the African, I think context,
Yes.
just to go into lingerie is a pretty new thing.
Yes, very new.
So when you tell people what you do, I mean, you said now it's you've been doing it for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
But in the beginning, were people like, what?
Yeah, and even my dad, he came to the store when we were celebrating our 5th birthday. And all along, I think he thought, I don't know what he thought we do, because he wondered, the child went to school to study psychology, is doing her master's.
Wait. 5 years into
5
the
years
business?
into the business, yeah.
Okay.
And it's even worse for my business partner, because the dad also showed up to the store maybe 6-7 years after. Because we talk about what we were doing, but I don't think people understood exactly, like, what is it, a hobby, like bras? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Like, actually people need bras. And then when they first came into the space, they're like, oh wow, so this is a thing. Yeah. And now when I introduce myself, I say, my name is Connie and I'm in the business of boobs. So so everybody's always just taken aback, and they first have to die of laughter because they're like, what, did I just hear you correctly? But yeah, so it's just a little icebreaker, and then we can start now talking about underwear in just a nice, light, fun context.
I wanted to have this conversation because, yes, as you said, it's been taboo for the longest time, but also a lot of people do not understand how specific the sizes can be. You know, you think in terms of clothing, for example, you have small, then you have medium, then you have large, then you have extra large, and then
it goes maybe to about 6XL.
Exactly. Yeah. But with bras, you have the chest measurement, and then you have this is the cup size, which can go anywhere from A to like a J. I'm a J.
We go all the way up to a double K.
Well, there you go, which is even
bigger.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I think everybody, so now when you notice that actually a staggering statistic, 80% of women wear the wrong bra size in the world. So this is not just an African problem, it's actually a global problem. Because, you know, when bras are hidden and panties are hidden, nobody cares.
Exactly.
So I, when I be concerned about how I look, I want a nice dress, I want a nice hair.
No one needs to know what's under there.
What's under there? I always say, imagine yourself collapsing in public.
Oh.
And people have to save you. Are you comfortable? And if you're not, then that's a problem.
That's
right?
a reminder. Mothers would always say, think about if you have an accident.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
And you have something torn, panties, you've worn the oldest ones. I mean, really.
We actually have a doctor who's a client and works in the emergency center at one of our referral hospitals back in Kenya. And she was telling me, Connie, you know, when a lady comes in and she's been in an accident, so the first thing they have to do is cut the clothes,
cut
right?
off everything.
Yeah, but when she finds Double D's underwear, she actually tells people pose, and she removes it, places it on the side, and then continues cutting everything.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a thing. So I'm like, oh my gosh, she understands, because it's an investment, and you want to invest in how you look.
Thank you.
Yeah, before, because that's something hidden and only you and a few special people see. So you want to make sure that that looks good before taking care of the outside.
So interesting that we're getting into this, but yes, we're talking about boobies today, because I like that you use the word investment, because for smaller busted people, they don't really have a challenge. I've seen someone with a small bust, they'll just go into a shop, you know, just look at it. Any generic bra and it will fit. But when you need something for support, for comfort as well, because you find a lot of ladies, they get cut by maybe really slim straps, and then around, you know, here you might look at someone and they're being cut by the bra. It's supposed to fit you properly, give you support, but also you know, fit you well. So you have to pay, most people think, quite a pretty penny.
Yeah, quite a pretty penny, and also just because of the size range as well. I think to take you back to what you had asked about the sizing, there are about 72 unique sizes. So if I have a black bra today, right, it's actually a little bit over, about, I think, close to 100 unique sizes. So when you start from an A and go all the way up to a double K, and you see, I always say this, with bras, unlike a regular top where it's in a size small to XL, we have to factor in two measurements. That's the fullest part of your bust and the smallest part of your rib cage. And then do that subtraction. Now, taking you back to the conversation about the banyabo, the way they're shaped, and most African ladies, you'll find that there's a significant difference between the smallest part and the largest part. And now that difference is what accounts for the cap sizes, the letter in the bra size. So majority of the people think just because they assume that because you're plus size, then you have a big bust. That's not the case. And you could be very petite, but have a large bust. So we have to think about those things. So big boobs come in very different sizes, and that's why we encourage everybody to just come and get professionally fitted wherever you go. And it's as simple as even you doing it at home and just Googling and seeing what is a bra size chart, and then finding out what size you are. In the UK, the US, I would avoid the Southeast because they're a bit on the smaller side.
Most of their bras are tiny.
They're very tiny. They're the ones who make the big bras as well, but just for their population, and what ends up in mass market.
Yeah, so it's all for
very
export.
tiny. Yeah,
it's
just
really
for export.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of bra sizes, a lot of people actually have not a clue. Not a clue. And I remember one of the things I was told way back in the day. I told you I started out as a double D when I was a teenager. And then over the years, I've gone up in size. Every time you're going to buy bras, you're actually supposed to get measured.
Yes.
Every single time.
Every single
Some
time.
people think, oh, I had a baby, or I put on weight, then now I'm changing. But your body's constantly changing.
It constantly changes, especially as a woman. And so rule of thumb, once a year. Once a year. Get yourself professionally fitted. Now, let's say within this year, you've eaten a little bit of some gonja and you've gained about 5 kilos. And that's happened to me, by the way.
Why are you hating on gonja? There are other things.
I'm obsessed with gonja. I learned that there's a difference between plantain and gonja. So when you go to the restaurant and you say plantain, they brought me some just regular bananas. I'm like, no, this is matoke where I come from. I want, the slimy ones when they're overly sweet and they've been deep fried and dunked in oil.
Yeah,
so first year being here, gained 10 kilos. That was the year of setting up the business. Yeah, 10 whole kilos. They all came in. And so for the longest time, it's really good here. And I was refusing to acknowledge that my size has changed because I'm like, when I get back at home, I'm going to lose the weight. It wasn't happening. So rule of thumb, once a year, get fitted.
Okay.
If you've gained or lost 5 kilos within that year or between your fittings, you also need to get fitted. Say you have a baby.
Yeah.
And you stop breastfeeding, you need to get fitted. Because we find some women wearing their nursing bras for about 3 years on after they stopped nursing, and you're like, sis.
And not even that. You see, when you are breastfeeding, your boobs generally...
Yeah, they go up.
Because they're active. It's literally a factory. They're working.
Yeah.
And then when you stop breastfeeding, then they go down
They
again.
shrink again, And somebody will think, no. Or somebody who's actually never ever bothered to go for a professional fitting before. So, and how they've been shopping for bras is just by sight. And
or they tried on
top of the clothes, yes.
And another bra.
Yes, and another bra on. So you already have the support. So it looks like it fits, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
And now because you've spent a bit of money on it, you just decide, you know what? I'll just move along or wear 2 bras at the same time. Yeah, sometimes it happens that you can get a little bit of support. I'm telling you the world.
Wow, that I haven't heard
girls
of.
were to share their problems.
2 bras at the same time.
2 bras at the same time. Or you buy something with a binder or a bando so that you wear your bra that doesn't fit correctly, then layer it with something else to try and organize a few things, You're like, it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah, not on a hot Kampala day. You just need 1 bra.
So this conversation, we can go on and on, but we will come back to double Ds.
Yes.
Connie, I want to hear about you growing up. Yes. So, born in Kenya?
Born in Kenya,
Nairobi?
yes. Born in Nairobi, born in Kenya. That was the year 1990, a whole millennial. I just watched a TikTok the other day and somebody was asking, doing an interview and asking people, how old, what would you consider somebody that is old? And the kids would answer, I think if you're born in the 90s. And so I guess I'm not going to share my age. I guess I'm old now. So an only girl in a family of, we're a family of 4. So I have twin brothers ahead of me. And then there's me and then a little brother who's about maybe 9 years younger than I am.
So you're the only girl?
Only girl, yeah. And I think my personality, when you meet me for the first time, you can just tell I run the show. Because living in a household of boys and also my male cousins, I think we're only 3 female cousins. and in a world where there's about 15 boys.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm the eldest, and the
Okay.
one who follows me is about maybe 5 years younger, and another one who's 30 years younger. So you can imagine,
Yes,
worlds
yes,
apart.
yes.
I've been on my own, fighting in a world where there are a lot of boys. So studied in Kenya, and then just been in Kenya for pretty much my entire life before I started coming into Uganda. And now I feel like this is my second home.
When did you start coming to Uganda?
2019. That's
So-
when I started coming to Uganda.
Okay,
So it's
so
about
you
what,
were
5 years ago?
you're already done with school.
Yeah, already done at school. So did my undergrad in psychology, began my master's in clinical psychology, and then the business of the bras came calling. So it just happened. It was happenstance because I wasn't planning to be at Double D's. I was just planning to be a regular partner who just gets a little bit of dividends, kamani, a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, and then do my psychology.
So your
and then
partner
move on.
approached you then?
No,
for
so
the
we were
business?
together. We were
Okay.
doing the business together. We just started it, and I didn't plan to be at the store, like selling the bras and like meeting the ladies. I just happened to be
You
there
thought
one
you'd just
day,
be an investor.
just an investor in the business, and she's also based abroad. So we thought, oh la la, we'll
This
just
would
be
make
existing,
sense.
yeah, and then I can continue with my professional life being a psychologist. But then got into now business, and now this took over my life. So I now say psychology is my side hustle.
So, in terms of choosing psychology, did it just happen naturally?
Yeah.
Did you make an effort, or was that the best option at the time?
So I was heading
Why
into
psychology?
accounts.
Oh,
I'd always thought I was very good at math. So I thought, what can I do? Something finance related. And then one random day before the registration closed, I happened to open what the government letters, what they assign you. So in Kenya, they assign you what uni you go into.
Okay.
So I was already deep into my accounting phase, just studying those professional courses you do before you join university. And then I opened this, and I just opened it, and I thought, you know what? Why not? Let me try it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I knew for sure one thing about me, that I was never going to be employed.
Ah.
Yeah, I think that's where my thing. I just needed to do a
Where does that
profession that
come
allows
from?
me. I'm a free spirit. And I hate being grounded.
Yes.
So one thing I really like, I don't like the monotony of doing the same thing over and over again. And I used to suffer as well from very bad cramps. So I'd have to ask for permission in a month, maybe 3 or 4 days. And I just thought, this is not sustainable. I need to be working for myself, that the day I'm sick, I don't have to explain to anybody.
And you can work
why,
from home.
and I
yeah.
can work from home. So that's where it began. So found myself in a psychology class, and I'll never forget it, Psychology 101. And they ask you, why are you here? So, and the explanation is, if you're here to understand yourself, but more so to understand others and how other people relate and think about life, then this is the right class for you.
Okay.
So that was about what? Oh, can I even think back? Very many years ago, almost 20 now.
Okay.
Yeah, so went into psychology, started it. Now I do it back and forth between Double D's and that, but primarily I'm at Double D's most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But were you already practicing by the time you and your
Yes,
friends
I was
set up the
practicing.
business?
I was practicing psychology, and I found it very interesting because it gave me a little bit of grace to understand people, which was something I think I would say I was struggling with. When you grow up and you're in school and
Why?
because like, I don't know, I hate you can say this on camera, but like, when you're in school and you're just that girl. So making friends wasn't hard for me. And I just thought, like, life really revolves around you. You can have a really warped sense of,
But I think
It's
that's
crazy.
teenagers as well.
No,
We
these
forget when we're
teenagers-
young. It's like the world is here for my benefit.
My benefit, yeah. But when you like, you have long hair, you're a pretty girl. You can get
So
really
you
self-obsessed.
were like in your bubble.
In my little bubble. And I think I really lacked patience in understanding how people think and like just how they reason and like, just I think to be a nicer human being.
Okay.
And that's how I found the classes to really help me with that. And people who knew me like way before, like if you were not in my friendship circle, and then when you now met me after like psychology, they'll be like, oh my God, she's so nice. Wow, what a shock.
She's come a long way.
Come a long way.
Okay.
So if you knew me in high school, much love.
Well, look at that. That's self-reflection. I will say.
Self-reflection, yeah, because I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, it's maturity as well.
Yeah,
But
true.
being able to understand people, I imagine, is something that has helped you not just,
Yes.
as a profession, but in life, in
life.
business, right?
I actually attribute the success of where we are to that, because people would come in to buy a bra. And we had one lady specifically, I'll never forget her, 2016, where you're seeing maybe 2 clients a day. And every other week, she'd bring a sister or a cousin or a friend. But I didn't know what was happening. And normally these fittings will take about 30 minutes to an hour to 2, but she'd spend about 3 hours at the store. So, and I would talk and speak about, like, we talk about, because it's such an intimate thing, fitting the bras, right?
Is.
And the space we've tried to create is very intimate as well, where you can feel very comfortable and just disappear from the world for about an hour. And I now realize I'm offering therapy.
It's an emotional investment for them.
Yeah. And so it just took away, like, I'd say my, not passion for practice, but like one-on-one. So I don't now often do one-on-one counseling. I mostly prefer to do group counseling.
Okay.
So when we even get outsourced to do projects, we do like peer counseling for the entire school, or group counseling for the entire school, or like group of women who are dealing with something, or like kids, young kids, vulnerable kids. So that's the type of psychology I now like to practice.
Okay.
But it's greatly impacted how I run my life, how I run my business, how I run my friendships.
Oh.
Yeah, because I realized...
It's the first time I'm hearing someone talk about running friendships.
Running friendships. Because they take work, especially when you're older.
Yes.
And life,
and
you're
good
moving
friendships
to different places.
They take effort on your part.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. And I always tell people, I'm so happy. We just celebrated our 20th year anniversary with my girlfriends. I'm like, wow, guys. And I tell them, you can never live my life. Otherwise...
No, holding on to friends, for some people, it is a challenge. I had a conversation, just on a side note, recently, because I have girlfriends also. We've been friends since high school.
Yes.
Actually, my best friend since primary school.
Wow.
Yes. And we have our different lives and our kids, but whenever we meet, we're still in the same place.
Yeah.
But then I was talking to this young man, and he was saying, because he was seeing me and one of my girlfriends, and we've been friends for, I would say, more than 25 years. And he was like, this is so different. I look at your generation and you seem to have kept your friends from school. And he was saying, my generation, and I would say maybe he's late 20s, he was saying, in our case, it's like once we leave school, that's it, we're done. At least he said most of the people that he knows, because of, I don't know, small beefs or social media, because I can just block you if I want. And I thought, that's interesting. Is that something that you have seen?
Yeah, and I think I watched a podcast just the other day. I was listening to a podcast, and they were explaining with adult friendships, 3 things are necessary for you to remain friends. 1, proximity.
Yes.
And then there was also where you are in your timeline. Like if you're married, not married, are you moving out of the country, what season of life you're in. And the third one was energy. So if your auras just don't click, especially because once you start to grow up, you start to figure out who, you know who Crystal is, I know who Connie is.
Yeah.
So that just means now, like, I have to protect this happiness if I'm in this happy season. I don't want to just surround myself with somebody who's just negative 24/7. So in as much as we have a lot in common and probably we're in the same timeline, if our auras just don't click, they don't click. And we don't have to force issues. Yeah, but it's true. I feel like with this generation, there's a deep sense of loneliness. And they've actually been trying to do a bit of studies, psychology studies on what's happening. And it's because I think the world has become a little bit disconnected with the extensive connection that we have on social media.
Yes.
So it's brought us together, but also brought us so far apart, because you're now chatting on the phone and you think you have friends. But think about it, you lose a loved one. Then you post about it. People will say sorry, but who physically shows up to help you bury the loved one?
Yes.
So unlike in the past where you take the effort to, okay, let's meet for coffee, have some coffee, sit down. When you lose a loved one, that person will be physically present. Yeah. And this is why we're saying nowadays just a hug goes such a long way. Yeah, compared to that like on Instagram or like a comment on the section.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because for friendships to thrive as well, the effort is you must meet. You must actually meet. Even if it's a video call. But it's like I can see your face, I can see your eyes, and I can really see what's going on with you, because when you've known someone for a long time, you're going to be like, there's something wrong. What's going on? There's something on your mind. Okay. So what he said about social media, because I thought that was so interesting, that social media has affected friendships in real life.
Yes.
There is something there.
There is something there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think everybody just needs to be very mindful that it's such a beautiful tool, but also something, it's like a double-edged sword. It'll cut both ways. So you need to know that, I can exist, and especially everyone, we're in the social space a little bit. So I know now that whatever life you see of Connie on socials, it's just a highlight. Whatever you see about Crystal, it's just a highlight. Snippets of the day. It's a 24-hour day, 365 days a year. I don't think you're as happy the entire time. You know?
Yes.
And rarely will you pick up the phone and like now record yourself like when you're super sad. Very few people have that skill. I think you hosted Nyonyozi. She's a good friend of mine.
Yes.
And she whenever she comes and records stuff at like the store and we're meeting, I find it so effortless. And the girls at the store will tell you, for me to get onto the camera and do something, I have to like, you know, like do those things of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. And then pick up the phone and record the camera. And it's such a, I find it, for the people who find it effortless, kudos to them. For me, it's not
I have
as
to say kudos
effortless.
to her because she shows up in her most authentic
Yes,
self. First thing in the morning.
And she'll just go on and talk about
How
her
many
day.
of us can actually, I like, my eyes are like, I'm
Nah.
just waking up and I am, I won't lie to you. No.
You will only see Connie like, I think once a week, and that's when I batch shoot all the content you'll see during the week. I'd rather change the clothes, by the way. Or on a day like today when I knew I was coming to shoot with you, then I made a little bit of effort to like, you know, make a bit of content on the side.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no. I'd run away from it.
Well, it also explains how she connects with so many people.
Yeah.
So psychology, you said at the moment you prefer to do group settings.
Yeah, group settings.
And you've been quite busy. You've been traveling a bit.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
We got a project greenlit to go to Ghana, Tanzania, and Kenya as well, to like run a phase with schools and capacity build for a specific school in Kenya, based in Kenya, but they have branches across the globe, actually across the continent. And so they wanted us to talk about discipline and positive discipline for that. Because we realized in Kenya we stopped getting corporal punishment when I was about 9 years old. That was 1999.
Yes.
But I just came to learn that that's not the case for the entire continent. Like people still beat the kids.
No, even here, I mean, it was
told.
supposed to be outlawed, but it still happens.
It still happens,
in many schools.
So I thought, oh wow, really? So, and you know, we're raising kids in a different age.
Yeah.
I don't have kids yet, but I'm like, I look at my friends who have kids and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a tough one. Because
you see this already?
I mean, like, because the sass a 2-year-old can present, like a 2-year-old has like a vocabulary of like a 6-year-old back in the day. You're like, where did they learn all these things? So you're parenting at a very different age, and also the way the school systems are working, it's at a very different way. So teachers need to meet these kids who are growing up in a very connected world. They understand their rights. Right? And they have to be responsible for those rights, but most importantly, they understand what needs to happen to them and what can't happen to them. So we're just capacity building for the teachers, the parents, on how to parent and teach and discipline in a positive way, and not necessarily just beating with the corporal punishment. So that's been really interesting. I think my spark just came back for psychology, because to be honest, I was just like, nah, I can deal with bras the entire time.
I know, because it was also just taking up most of your time at some point.
Time. So now this is nice. I if I do say so myself, I'm really good at it. So hire me.
Well, I love that you're doing a lot of around positive discipline, because that is a challenge, not just in a school setting, but even in parenting as well.
Yes.
Because our generation, I would say, we were chased with a slipper. The slipper even found you like around the corner. It came and it still found you there. And that's what many people know. And when it comes to parenting, we tend to parrot what we saw, what we learned, what we experienced. So now the world is saying positive discipline, don't beat your child. And then on the flip side, we're beginning to see more and more children who are not experiencing any kind of discipline, not the right kind of discipline. Like, I'm not going to beat, I don't want to, and then that's also a challenge, because children do need
discipline. So even as we were capacity building, one thing we'd put emphasis on is that, you know, kids will run circles around you if they feel you're not in control of the situation, right? And back in the day, you just needed like to lift a slipper, or like, for my mommy, she was really gangster about it. So she'd punish you every Sunday. There was a set time for when the beating would happen. And I don't think she remembers this. If she does, mommy, this is to you. So we'd
wait. You had
a set day on Sunday, just after the visitors have left, because of course you're going to behave really badly that Sunday, right? So you'd go and pick up your cane.
I remember that. And you'd be crying the whole time.
Yeah. You're not even crying. So you're just going to pick up what you think is not going to hurt you. So she made me grow an entire cypress tree. because she said it was fun, but I didn't know that's where most of the canes would come from, right?
That is diabolical.
I know. So then you'd come and you would sit and you would go through the mistakes of the week.
Okay.
And she had a notebook. So now that I think about it, she probably didn't write it down, right? But she just remembered what she wanted to correct, right? And she'd never beat you for something that you've done that's new. But if she's warned you about it thrice, there was a cane and like a system attached to it. So you're really thinking about your behavior. So you're like, I have 2 more chances before I do that. But now just to go back to that parenting mode, so for the twin brothers, they're very different personalities, but they're identical twins. So one of the twin used to be beaten a lot because he was so naughty. He would take a screwdriver or like a knife and put it in the socket. He'd be everywhere jumping and like, a nail once went through his foot. One day he took a candle and like put it close to, I think he was just very curious as a child, right? And
which is a really good trait.
It's a good trait, yeah. But now when you're trying to parent as well and you're overwhelmed, it's 3 kids all, and like we're just a year and 3 months apart. So it was just hectic for her.
Whoa.
And this, I'm telling you, that boy would drive her up to the wall. Now, fast forward years later, he's a grown up and now they're mending their relationship. Because the little boy in him, there was once he failed to get on the school bus. And so my mom was so frustrated and wondered, what can I do? So she took his hand and dragged him to a pile of trash. It was really a little pile of trash. And said, I'm going to throw you in this trash because you've decided to become trash and not amount to anything in your life. Something so tiny, right?
I know.
That has transformed the way he thinks about life to this very day. So she had to take him as a grown-up to that pile of trash, which was so tiny, and show him, this is what the trash looked like. And now she realizes when she reflects, she's like, with you 3 kids, like, not the same parenting method worked for you.
Yeah.
There's one now. For me, if you beat me once, that mistake would never be repeated.
Yes.
And my other brother, the firstborn, the first twin, never be repeated. For him, it's a thing that he's going to do. He'll actually level it up. But the day you just speak to him and you reason with him, he's just that guy. And even to this date, you just have to explain the why. Don't do this because of A, B, C, D. And he's so philosophical.
Because you were saying he was very curious as a child.
Yes.
So it's like, what
he
will
just
happen?
He has to understand
why
the why.
Is this?
Yeah. And so now we're not saying like don't beat. You still have to discipline the person, and you still have to be in control of the entire situation as a parent, and just don't let the kids like run circles around you.
Yes.
And I don't know what I feel about gentle parenting, really, because I've seen it happen, and I think, okay, it seems like it's working, but then again, this gentle parenting is taking 2 hours of your day to parent. As you have to discuss, can you think about your actions and then let's circle back. But it's been 1 hour. Who has the time? So I don't know what I feel about it yet. I can see.
I have my thoughts on that. I've been told I'm quite a tough mom. But I believe loads of affection, loads of love as well, but there must be a balance.
Yes.
Gentle parenting, another day.
Another day.
But
I think you need an expert to speak on that, not Connie.
I hear you. I hear you. So positive discipline, I mean, in a school setting, just for someone to have an idea, like what does that mean? Yeah, what does that entail?
So one thing we focused on was first equipping the teachers and the parents a little bit of knowledge about their personalities.
So they know their triggers as well?
Exactly. There we go. Because many people don't, like sometimes a kid in class might really annoy you, and just because of who they are. It's got nothing to do with their behavior. It's just your personality and theirs just don't click.
Yes.
And then with different personality types as well, back to discipline, there are things that will work on somebody who's a curious child that's happy-go-lucky. And you'll find that, let me just use like the example of a sanguine, somebody who's really outgoing, extroverted. When they're bored in class and they start causing commotion in class, it's not because they don't want to pay attention to what you're saying. It's just because they don't have the capacity. They've already learned, absorbed whatever they've absorbed, and then they need to now create distractions. And boredom is the reason why it's causing drama. So you might beat them, but they'll repeat the same case. That child will repeat the same thing in class over and over again. So how do you do this? Like in a different way. You now assign tasks or give them responsibilities, for example, that now they look forward to something. There's one parent who shared an example of their child. So whenever you tell the kid study, he'll never study. So he decided, you know what, let me attach some incentive to it.
Okay.
So every single time you bring, for every A you bring home, I'll give you the equivalent. In Tanzania shillings, it's about 100 Kenya shillings.
Okay.
So the equivalent, or maybe we'd say that's what is it here? 100, so it's 3,000.
Okay.
So every single time you do something, I'll give you 3,000 UGX for every A.
Yeah.
That's what causes the child to study. But the beating of, oh, you don't study, no. So he learns, my child, the personality type just requires a little bit of incentive.
So he needs a reward.
Just a reward. And he's good. And all through, fantastic. At the end, as long as you honor that. They're kids who, if you make a promise to them, if you say as a teacher or a parent, I need you to be in class by 8 a.m. every single day. And they've understood why it's important, so that they can get enough time to study and plan their day. And then you as a teacher show up at 9.
Oh.
So already they're like, okay, you said 8 and we have to follow things in a certain way. Very particular kids, things have to be very systematic. But what do you do in that case now to a child like that? So they're upset and they're acting out because you did not follow through with the consistent promises you let them down. And now you don't apologize, and then you get angry, and because you have power, you take it out on the kid. Do you see? So it requires a lot of constantly thinking. And I know it's a bit difficult when you have about 50 students, but when you think about it, majority of the students in class, the ones that fall through the cracks are the ones who it's not 50 of them, it'll probably be 10 of them. So for the most part, majority are fine, they're just at a baseline, but then you're worried about the 10 that are either too much or too down. Yeah, so you think about that.
Oh, that's interesting. So for like the stability of a whole class, it does actually really work for you to make an extra effort where you see that. It's funny what you said about the children who seem to be the most naughty, the most unsettled. It is because they get bored.
Yeah. And I think the family structure has really, truly changed. We're not, I mean, teachers now have to be mommies and daddies, unfortunately. Yeah, because, and we're coming from very diverse backgrounds. I think I was just doing just recently a class, and I realized, like, when the kids would share, I realized the things they've gone through. This are most kids, like kids in that class, I think 3/4 of them were coming from homes that are not, like, families are not together. It's just a single mom or a single dad, or parented by the nanny.
Yeah.
So majority of the stuff that you'd see, the problems they go through, is just looking for attention for some of them.
Yes, and sometimes they're rewarded. They look for, it's negative attention.
It's negative attention, but it's because they don't get it at home. So if you know that that's a small challenge for the student, it's as simple as, oh, okay, that kid is suffering from, they just need to be the center of attention. So you can assign them little tasks in class where probably they're the ones who would come and erase the board every single day, just to be noticed, to be felt like they belong and part of a family, because that's what's missing from home.
Oh, wow.
So you have to now think about the child in the entirety as a parent and as a teacher. Yeah.
That requires constant learning.
Constant learning, yes.
As well.
Yeah.
But I always say so much credit should go to teachers. Oh. That is not an easy job.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I would have to do grade 1 to 4, like the young kids. And by the time I'm done with their 2-hour session, I have a migraine. I'm like, not for me. I'm so sorry. It's okay. Like, I'm good at it, but no, it's okay. I wouldn't do this every single day of my life.
So much love to our teachers. Yes. It is one of the highest callings.
Highest calling. Yeah. It's like
although we're all teachers in one way or another, as long as you have children in your life, or you become a parent, whether you like it or not, you become a teacher as well. So psychology. What does it give you? Is it something like you've had a moment to think about and say, oh, this has added so much value to my life? Yeah. Because I can understand the burnout that you were talking about. But what are some of the benefits that come with this path that you have chosen?
Of choosing psychology. I'd say I think I'm more, like I told you earlier, I'm more understanding, first of all. I'm very empathetic. And I say this, like, when it comes to strangers, people who are not like my family or like intimate friends, right? I'd always say I show up as a psychologist, and I'll always think about life from your point of view. But when you meet Connie, when I'm in the throes of being a sister or like being a friend, then I just come as myself, psychology out the door. And just show up as, I don't put the psychology thing first, but that's just on the side note. But I'm like, I think I understand people a little bit more, understand their motives. and even as an employer on both sides, both for the psychology and for Double D's, I think one thing that I have been very passionate and it's pivotal for me to think about is the organizations I run. I want people to know that work can be a happy place. Because we spend a third of our adult lives at work.
Yes.
So I cannot believe that I, as a boss, want to create a toxic environment in the office. So it's something, and the only reason I know that is because of my psychology background. Because I know work can cause, if I destroy your life at work, you're not being a good mommy.
Yes, it's
or
going
a
to
daddy.
seep into every aspect.
Every other aspect of your life. And it's very hard for you to say, because somebody will come to the office because they need the money and they need the job.
Yes, yes.
Then they have to go to places where they can't come out because they have family and friends. And you're like, they're only showing up because they need the job. So the satisfaction levels are down. So I'm very keen to make sure that I present myself in a way that's really good at the workplace and create a non-toxic environment at work. And that's due to psychology. Yeah.
All right, okay. So is this the only business you have done? Have you tried other businesses? Because you said you knew because of like your struggles on your monthly that you would definitely want to have your own business.
My own business,
or at least,
just not be employed.
Being employed is not bad, but give you some kind of freedom.
Yes.
Yes.
I did a bit of an internship when I was in uni, and I'd intern, and that's what she told me. I was happier being an office messenger. You know the guy.
So you're constantly going,
because that's
send me.
Sitting at the office, it just makes my soul just die. Yeah, so the psychology thing is one of the things I do.
Yes.
Then we tried farming with my mommy.
Oh,
as a business.
okay.
That as a family, and then I was left doing it with
I
my
like the
mommy.
way you're like,
said as a family.
Uh-huh.
That taught us a lot. There's one of the pictures
about
of one
your
of my
dynamic,
brothers.
or
No, she and I are similar in personality, so we clash 24/7, but we love each other to the ends of the world.
Okay.
But we're constantly just
but it did not work.
Yeah. So when we're doing it, I think it taught me the lesson that I took from it was just always do the worst case scenario. Whatever will come whatever you do as like the bonus, everything extra will be a bonus with farming, because you can't predict what's going to happen. So we decided to put out 10 acres of maize, and
this is where, here or
no, in Kenya.
Okay.
So I did 10 acres of maize with my brothers as well. So it was a whole family project with the 4 of us.
Oh, all
twin
of
brothers.
you.
Yeah, we're like, guys, let's start farming. We have the land. Why not put down 10 acres of land? And the maize was growing very well. Now in my head, I thought 3 months we should be good, right? I didn't know maize takes about like 6 months in the shamba. I didn't know that. So 3 months we're like, Mom, are we ready to harvest? No, we're not. So 8 months in, the maize is ready.
Yes.
Now you can sell the maize when it's green, or you wait for it to dry in the shamba and then sell it. So she's like, we'll get more money if we let it dry. Now that's another 10 months. So it happened to rain while the maize had dried. So you have to give it another 2 weeks for the cobs to for the moisture to get off the cobs. Now, unfortunately, we used a combined harvester to harvest the maize instead of doing it by hand. So the rotten maize and the one that's good mixed in. So we have a picture of my brother. We always use it as a life lesson moment where he's sitting on a 90-kilogram bag of maize like this. Suffice it to say, they exited the equation, and we put farming on hold a little bit. Corner right there. So, and we thought, let's all focus on the things we're good at.
We can come back to this.
We can come back to this. So we ran the business with also a family land.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the one who, I think I'm good at the money, with the money things. So I'm the one who organizes that, and then the psychology, and then the bras. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, your partner.
Yes.
How long have you known each other? Are you friends?
We met in high school.
Okay,
so from high school.
Friends from high
so she's
school.
one of the 20-year relationship people. Yeah, but so I think we started connecting because of a mutual friend, and then it just became a thing. And I say, of all my friends, our dynamic is very different.
Okay.
I don't consider her even a friend or a sister. She's just a mix of things.
Okay.
Just complex, because I crack jokes and I say I'm not afraid to go to the gyna, but when we have to talk about money, that's why it's like, oh my gosh, that's what I find more intimate. Because I'm like, sis, can we?
What?
Yeah. But the guy now, I'm like, yeah, we'll do this. That's physical. That's something that's just, you can do A, B, C, D. But my accountant, or both of them, the one in Kenya and Uganda, they know me. Like I say, we have the most intimate relationship. I even humbled myself. There's no shame when you sit, you're like, sir, what were you saying? Okay, I'm listening.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because the money thing, it's like, woo. But I guess it's also how you grow up around money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we never talked about money in my family, it was, it's there, we're gonna chop. When it's not there, it's not there, and then tomorrow we'll make more money. And so now, even that now, having to unlearn that to now know, oh, you have to plan for the future. When you're running a business, you can't operate like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's my checks and balance. That's what I'd call her. Yeah. She's like, okay, Connie, I think that's a fantastic idea, but. So yes, you're CEO, but I answer to somebody. Yeah.
Okay. Understood.
So whenever she comes home, because she comes to Uganda maybe once or twice, at home maybe once a year, and whenever I tell the girls at the office, I'm like, hey, my boss is coming. You know, we all have to be aligned. But we're equal partners, but she's my boss.
Now, a lot of people will say partnerships can really go sour when it comes to either family or friends. How have you managed to keep that?
We used to be 4 partners.
Okay.
At the start of Double D's.
Ooh.
By year 1, had to let go of 2. And then now we've been left with just she and I.
You have the same vision for the business.
Exactly. And that it comes down to that. When we were trying to figure out whether to let go of the other partners, I had sat with a lady who's really big in business in Kenya, and she said something. She said, you know, we don't approach business partnerships like a marriage. So when you're thinking about picking your partner, your spouse is going to be, it's still death does your part for the most part, right? We should approach the same, picking a business partner with the same intensity and seriousness. Because then it allows you to think about this person from, so with Charity, she understands me and I understand her very well. Similar personalities, both very headstrong, but I know we have a rule. There's a veto we put in our decision making. If she really feels strongly about it, then I'll let it go.
Okay.
And we have to fight once when she comes around. So we have a bad fight, and then I walk away, she walks away, she stays at the office, and I'll walk away, I'll do a lap, and I'll come back and I'll give her a hug and say, and then we move on.
So
now
you
we talk
choose
about
your
it.
battles.
We choose our battles. You have to understand that, because partnerships, especially business, when it comes to money, you have to really think about the full picture. And you know, money is so sensitive, eh? Like I said, even about the Gaina thing and the accountant, it's such a sensitive topic. So imagine mixing friendship where you can just sit down and eat. If that's complicated, now imagine adding money into it.
Yes.
So pick your business partner with the same intensity that you would use and the same due diligence as picking a romantic partner.
Okay.
That'll help you start to streamline some things.
And that
if
has
there are red
helped you.
flags at the beginning, that's going to end badly, because there were many red flags.
Because I think that might be the issue, because the red flags are there right at the start, but then you're like, but
yeah, we're
it's my
friends.
mom, maybe. Or it's my best friend.
Yeah. So you have to think about it critically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to the bosom. Or I don't know, some people say the ladies, some people say the tatas. I mean, when it comes to boobs, if we're going to go clinical with it, breasts. I mean, there's so many things we can talk about. But it's also, I feel like underwear for us as women, or lingerie, has a lot to do with our self-esteem as well. And
say that again. Just pause and say that again.
Underwear or lingerie has a lot to do with our self-esteem and feeds into our self-esteem. I say this because, I mean, I've been in the media for a long, long time. Been on camera as well for a long, long time. And I've always had big boobs. And one of the things that helped me, as I said before, was that my mom had bought bras for a lot of ladies in the family who had big boobs as well. So it wasn't too hard for me to get well-fitting bras. But then also, there was something, I think it's my mom, someone said to me that the body you have is the body you have. You're not going to get another one. Unless later in life you have the money to change it, you must love it. You must embrace it. And that's what happened with my boobs. Because I used to see a lot of other girls
like this.
with big boobs. They'll be slouching. They'll try to do everything to cover them up. And I'm like, but these are mine. I'm going to embrace them and rock them. And I hadn't thought so much about it until I met a lady who had big boobs a few years ago. And she told me, I have always watched you, Crystal, because you have big boobs, but but you don't hide them. I've always seen you, and you just seem to be comfortable with them.
Yeah.
And you can't hide them.
You can't. You can't hide them. You can't, but you do try a lot.
So it affects your self-esteem, and
does
it
affect your
normally
self-esteem.
starts from a young age. And sometimes it's the people around you. Sometimes it's the experiences, like you're saying, you walk into a store and they say, we don't have your size. All those things.
But the thing you even actually remember the most is, and this is for women and parents who are parenting children with a fuller bust, especially if you or your family members have a less endowed bust, like you're smaller, it's the little comments that you don't notice that you make that actually impact the lady's like understanding of their breast and her confidence, even as a grown-up.
Yeah.
So it's at work, it can be whatever, I don't really care about it, but if your mom says something,
then it's those big boobs,
and you'll just be like, I remember my mom used to say a thing about the bum, right? Because now I'm a bit hippie and I have a bumsy. Like if when I'm in Uganda, I can actually wear leggings and walk out. That doesn't happen in Kenya because, you know, there's gonna be a bigger bumsy than yours. And, you know, so you're like, this is home, yeah?
Yeah.
But now growing up with her, and she'd make little comments, and for the longest time, you'd find me with, to this date, like really long clothes at the back. Like maybe if it's a top, just cover up a little bit, or like A-line outfits, and rarely wear tight things, because I'm just, that thing in the mind is like,
it stayed with you.
It stayed with me, right? So same thing with, as we're raising young girls. Positivity and impacting their self-confidence will begin in the house. That'll start creating, it'll start creating walls and barriers and just fortify them, so that when they leave and move into the world and people say negative things, and especially with access to a lot of social media, then they can already see, I feel beautiful and I'll accept and embrace the body that I have. Like you said, until you have money and you want to change something, then you can change. I'm all for it. Just do what you must. Just know the consequences, know what's going to happen. And if you're okay with it and you have the money, go ahead. I mean, it's one life that we're living, right?
Yes.
So one thing we're very keen, even as we see teenage girls, because we do get a lot of teenage girls who mummies bring to the fittings, we actually tell the mummy to sit far away.
Right?
Yeah, we're like,
because
mummy, sit
I
far
have seen
away.
some very
Fun,
not so nice dynamics when mothers are shopping with their daughters.
Girls, and we tell the mummy, please, and I also, as an older girl, don't do the fittings. I let my younger staff do the fittings because they can relate, and we chase the mummy away. Because I've once gotten to a point where I wanted to tell off, it's a client, but I wanted to tell her off because I'm like, do you know you're the reason why this girl will live a life where she'll be embarrassed about her body and seek validation from other people because you didn't give it to her.
Yeah.
And it just came so close to the point where I thought, you know what, if she comes again, then it's going to be war. But I guess she could just tell from my facial expression. And I tried to put her away, to entertain her with other stories as the girls did the fitting. But the little girl was in tears. Because she's like, and when I looked at her bust, I thought, sis, are we crying about that size? A D? It's tiny, like you're really tiny. If you had my chest on your body, then yes, would say, oh gosh, I can see why she's struggling a little bit. But all that has just been fed into the mommy. So we take a lot of time to educate young girls as well, and just to teach them and also to teach their mummies. And one thing we wanted to do in Uganda as well is to have like a thing with mummies and their teen daughters, and then sit them down and then like just create a safe space for them to have conversations around things like this, like about the bodies, the positivity, just what to expect, and for the kids to have a safe space to ask questions that their mummies would not be comfortable to talk about.
This is interesting because I think it's not even, mothers directly, you know, they will impact their teenage daughters. And many times you find a mum is the complete opposite of her child in terms of body-wise. It happens. It happens. But it's moms, it's aunties, it's grannies. It's grannies. And the African culture in many ways encourages, you know, these older people to say whatever they want to say. Careless comments. Careless comments. And you said, and from your experience, and I think I've seen it too, that it can impact a young lady way into her life. And one thing you'd even tell especially when the kids come back from a long holiday in school. I notice here there are a lot of boarding schools. We encourage mummies, and we do a lot of content on our social media to tell mummies and aunties and judges, like, please, anything you want to say about the body of the child? Because of course during puberty your body goes up and down, up and down. And there's just that growth spurt that happens between 12 and 16, and you just don't understand. You had no hips, they're out.
The butt has gotten
Thank
bigger.
you.
It's
And
like
none of your clothes fit.
none fit.
And you're trying to tell someone that
None.
none of your clothes fit, and they're like, "What's going on? You mean I have to
Yeah.
buy new bras again?"
Again, yeah, and you're like,
That's not your
it's
fault.
normal, it's normal.
Yeah.
So how about you just give the kid a hug and say, "Oh, I'm so happy you're home." Look at the demeanor of the child. Are they happy? Are they sad? But that's it. Don't make any comment whatsoever. Don't say, "You look so nice. You look so big. You look small." Just avoid it. Refrain.
So
It's something that you have
again,
to reparent yourself. Yeah. And just
thank
say,
you.
yeah.
You have to keep reminding
Yeah,
yourself.
remind yourself, yeah.
And also the power of words. We like, what was that expression? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
They do.
That's a lie,
They do.
especially when you have a young person
Yeah.
who's building their self-esteem.
Yeah, and
You have to be
confidence,
very careful with your words. And I guess
Yeah.
that also extends into any role, whether you are a teacher as well. You have to be very, very careful. When you say these things, you know, I'm sure you say them delicately to moms and guardians. Do you ever get pushback?
I would say many people have accepted it positively. But of course, there's the one mommy who's like, but she's gaining weight. I'm just trying to. Actually, you know, it comes from a point of protection. Like, you know, the world is unkind to, let's say, women who look a certain way. So you're trying to, like, in your mind, at the back of your mind, you're trying to protect the kid, but you just don't know that it's doing more damage. More harm than good. Yeah. So we're always talking about it and just correcting them and saying, yeah, but you know, I know you're thinking about it from that point of view, but think the words you say now, and especially we call adolescence the formative years.
Yes.
And even when you look at it from a psychological point of view, your identity formation happens at adolescence, not when you're a 25-year-old person, no. So whatever you've equipped your kid with at adolescence, that's what they take away into their adulthood. And for when they come to unlearn that is maybe in their 30s, and they'll have had to go through such a terrible life, and then they start questioning. So if you're aware that that's where the critical phase of growing and self-identity comes from, then we have to do a lot more and be more cognizant that during that time we have to do the best we can to make sure the kids are growing up in a place where they feel safe, they're happy, and they can understand their bodies. They accept that other people do not look necessarily like them. We all don't look the same.
We all don't look the same.
Yeah, we don't look the same, and give them, like, even social media role models who they can look up to and see, okay, I love this. And like to tell them that also trends will change, especially in the women. You know how media defines our women bodies.
Yes.
There was once people were skinny, then came the age of snatched waists, boobsies and hips.
And
then there
big
was,
butts.
you know, and body positivity
And now
came
we
in.
have the exaggerated
Yes,
butts.
exaggerated, and people are like killing themselves to get like BBLs done. And now we've moved back to people removing the injectables. So you see, keep on changing.
It's the cycle.
So now what happens? Do you keep paying for surgery all along? No, so you have to start equipping them with positive skills to love their body. Let them affirm their bodies. It sounds silly,
Yeah.
but if they were to write down on a mirror on sticky notes in the bathroom, and it's something you look at every single time you know, even a notebook, you start to live what you see.
It becomes your reality.
It becomes your reality. So it's a silly thing, but it works.
You might think it's conversations for girls, but it applies to both boys and girls.
Yes,
as well. I mean, young men, young boys may have different issues. Maybe they don't have hips and boobs per se, but they also can experience body shaming.
Body shaming, yes.
And body positivity is also very important. Okay.
I mean, short kings in the world. We're always digging and cracking jokes, and the internet is just like, no. First thing a woman wants, a tall man.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine a boy who knows for sure they're never going to grow beyond a certain height?
Yes.
What do you do? And then now you tend to see that their personalities are built to constantly fight the world. Meanwhile, they never needed to be fighting in the first place.
True.
It's just how society is looking at them. But you're like, there's nothing you can do about your height. Now, what do? We accept the way we are, and now we start to build on that. Like, so let's find our strengths. What are you good at? You know, because rarely will you see, and I think many people don't know this, is that when you go and look for a person, yes, the physical thing works, but eventually that's stripped away by like day 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe in a week or a month. When the infatuation ends, you want to go to the core of who the person is.
Yeah, you don't date the way a person looks. You date who the person is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think for most women, for the gentlemen out there, that's where we're at. We want to know who you are. The rest is just, it's ambiance. We like it. It's okay.
And also,
but we'll strip it away.
Sometimes we just fall in love with who we fall in love with. Yes.
Yeah. It just happens.
But one of the most attractive traits I think that anyone can have, either woman or man, is confidence.
Confidence. I was about to say that. Yeah, confidence. Yeah, just be confident in who you are. Yeah, and there's always somebody out there for every single person. Yeah, and when I speak to the young teens, I'm always telling them, just there's a time for everything. And I know it sounds so cliche, especially when you're in that stage. And I tell them there's a time for everything. And so I like to use the example of, like, for the young girls, there's when you meet the boys in high school, they're like bread. You know, when they say that the expression, the best thing since sliced bread. Like, you know, bread was a thing. Then you get into high school and now you discover they're croissants. You leave and then the next day there's an assorted, assorted pastries. You leave there, you go to uni, you go to work. There's, you know, it keeps leveling up. And like, even if that bus, if you're standing at a bus station and the bus drove away, if you're at the bus station, another bus will come right through.
That's a good point.
I said that, they were like, what? They were so jazzed. I said, yeah. So don't, like, for the young kids who probably watch this or their mommies will make them watch this, it's just time for everything.
There is a time.
Yeah, just high school, uni life, focus on studies, the basics. Then after that, we can focus on these other things. At my age now, all your head is preoccupied with, of course, is paying bills and finding love.
True. Now, one of the things we talked about earlier was, like, imagine if you're in an accident and you're in you're tired, most tired bra, the oldest underwear.
I don't think you understand how bad it is. I just don't think you understand. I think
what I do know, and this for me has always been a thing.
Yeah,
a nice underwear. No one has to see it, but it makes me feel good. And it gives me an extra boost
of confidence. Just like a red lipstick or like a pair of heels when you have a big presentation. Small things are like good perfume that smells really good. That's what underwear does to your self-esteem and your confidence. And if you don't believe it, just give it a try. One day when you have a big pitch, wear nice underwear, coordinated bra, panty. Just coordinate
just
the
a
outfit,
matching
just a matching set, and then you go and see how you're presenting on the day. Because you'll find that women will wear a bra for a whole month without washing. Yes, an entire month. There will be stains, let's say it was milk stains on the bra that have been there.
Well, there's a running joke. A lot of men say women will wear a bra and they don't think it needs to be washed.
Yes.
Yet it's on an intimate part of your body. You will sweat if it's hot.
Yeah. So for this Kampala hot days, I would say wash your bra every day.
Yes.
But normally we'd say you wear your bra on Monday, skip Tuesday, wear it again on Wednesday, and then wash your bra. And the day you skip it, you don't put it inside like a wardrobe. You just hang it, let's say, at the back of your door in the bathroom so that you can air it out. So
now, a lot of people don't think about
the
care because I think if I wash it a lot, it's going to get old very fast. And
if you underwash it as well, so what it does, the dirt build up, the sweat build up, the lotion build up, all that build up destroys the elasticity of the band of the bra, which is the most important part of the bra. That gives you 80% of support for your body, for your breast weight.
Now, we may be talking about bras, but please, to the men as well, your underwear is it's very important.
Yes.
It's washed every day.
No, that is washed every day.
And you're
like
not wearing
panties.
Underwear with holes. Because we're talking about ladies with holes. But men, hey, this is a conversation for you too.
Yeah, you know, when the men ask me, Connie, why don't you start a business for us? I told them, you're the worst people to invest in. They are the worst people to invest in because a man will change his boxes when the lady changes his boxes, or once a year. Often you'll find that that's the case.
And actually you find a lot of men, they rely on the women in their lives.
To notice that there were torn boxes.
Or buy the new ones.
Buy them. Yeah, just it's hectic. But I'm like, no. I think in our generation where self-care, I think this is an era where people talk about self-care.
Yeah.
And it starts in different formats. And I always say for women and men, it's something as basic as that's the first thing that touches the parts
most
that give
intimate
areas. Like, why would you leave it up to chance? you know, with a thong that's so tight that's chafing, or like boxes that are torn with holes everywhere,
Yes.
or like boxes that have skid marks that have never been cleaned or deep cleaned. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things you have to really think about and keep put it in the back of your mind. Like, nah, we need to do better. Yeah.
And what you're talking about, talking to adolescents. This is a conversation, young ladies, hygiene, you know, personal hygiene and all of this, but young men as well.
Yes.
I feel that these are conversations that are so important.
Yeah, I don't know if Ugandan schools do this, but Kenyan schools tend to. Like, they'll invite somebody to come in and like talk to the girls about like, especially feminine hygiene.
But you see what you said?
Yeah.
Talk to the girls about feminine hygiene. I hear a lot of that, but I don't know if I hear so much of that
about boys.
for boys and young men.
I think
so whenever I have a chance to also talk about that, I'm like, this is also important.
Yeah, and growing up with brothers, I'm wondering who gave them the talk.
I think you had 3 brothers.
Yeah, 3 brothers and the male cousins. I don't know if my mommy did the talk or my dad. I can't tell you. But mine was given a lot because it's
again and again and again, right?
We're trying to make sure that she should not fall pregnant. It'll ruin her life, you know? That's the thing. So
and she should not embarrass us.
And embarrass us, yeah. Yeah, then now you can also, it goes either way. Then you can now, when you get to an age where they're like, why is she not getting married and having 10 children right now? You can't win in the streets.
The pressure.
The pressure.
Are you dating?
I was dating.
Okay.
I'm hopefully going to date soon again. Yeah, you know how you have to take a year and then you're like, okay, let me find myself. Yeah. So I'm hopeful for the gentlemen sabers out there. See me on the side.
Well, Connie, thank you so much for joining me. This was such a fun conversation.
Thank you.
So easy to chat with you.
We could do this for 2 hours.
I know, we actually could. So,
and thank you for having me,
I know
Crystal.
I just caught you in a window when you actually are here in Uganda, so I'm pretty chuffed about that.
Oh, yay.
Since you've gotten really busy.
Yeah.
So any final words? Because what's so interesting is you have a business that actually really helps women, really helps. Because like you said, in the beginning it was so exhausting because you realize it was like a therapy session, just allowing a woman to come and get a fitting and get a bra. And with that as a background, it must be quite rewarding as well, what you are doing. So any final thoughts? Any final remarks?
Yeah.
As we wrap up. Even as a woman in business.
I'd say, as a woman in business, just keep at it. As long as you're solving a problem, you will be fine.
Okay.
So if you're trying to get into entrepreneurship, the journey of entrepreneurship, find a problem, and mostly you'll find that the problems are dear to you. And chances are, if you're dealing with it, we're all not so unique.
Yes.
There's 10 other women who are dealing with the same thing. So just stick it out and just keep believing in yourself, and these things do work out. If you put in the right structures and systems, you should be fine.
Okay.
Right? And don't be afraid to dream big. Just dream big, and wherever, you know, like at least if you shoot, we normally say shoot for the stars. For the stars. And fall, and land at the sky. Yeah. The sky is still pretty high up. Yeah. So you just keep believing in yourself and building. And I'd also say for the women who've never been in for professional fitting, get that done. Yeah. We said once a year. And if you've had weight loss, weight gain, a baby has come in between there, you also have to get fitted. Now, for the psychology thing, take care of your mental health. Yes. Yeah, because unfortunately, we don't know how to compartmentalize. If one part of our mental health is really struggling, let's say you're having an issue with your, let's say, a romantic relationship, it seeps into all these other areas of your life. So go for therapy. Therapy is just not for sick people. I mean, I have a therapist who has a therapist, and the therapist has a therapist. It happens. So it doesn't have to kill you to go for to a therapist to just talk about your problems. Just helps you, not even problems, even just to check in. Yeah, because sometimes, like I said, in this age, our biggest challenge is loneliness. Yeah, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Yeah, the world. And my actually final thing would be the power of asking. I remember sitting with you and asking. Yes. And I was like, you know what? I don't know her. She doesn't know me, but I'm just going to ask, and then we'll see. Now here we are. Yes. And I'm so grateful that you had me on your show today. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you. Such a pleasure. Thank you.